Welcome to another episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast, the first ever quarantined edition of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast. My name is Matt Welch in, the top box, and then one box below you got Chris Jackson. Third box there is Kendrick Johnson, and then Devin, yours says iPhone in the corner, but nevertheless that is Devin Hasson there in the bottom.
I didn't know what to tell you.
So yes, as we're obviously recording this episode of the podcast via Zoom, which has taken on a pretty some pretty high degree of prominence over the last month or so during this strange period. So yes, this is the first time that we've actually seen each other in 5 weeks. It was actually the last episode of the podcast, which I believe was 5 weeks ago or so, right after the initial suspension of high school sports. Just obviously talking about that and breaking down what that all meant. And we've kind of just taken a bit of a hiatus since, just kind of acclimating to a different way of doing things. But obviously with the news that came down on Friday and the bombshell that was dropped there with all remaining high school sports for the 2019-2020 school year being canceled, obviously wanted to get together and just discuss one of the hands down one of the most significant stories of our careers, really. And who knows how much more this thing has left to it, but obviously right now what we do know is that after again about a month or so of uncertainty and who knows, but we now at least have the next pivotal step in this process. So guys, I want to just get y'all's reactions to that news on Friday. It was right around 4:30 or so when we got that word from the UIL, and whether it was just a case of finally getting the inevitable over with or whatnot. What was y'all's reaction to officially getting word that high school sports were in fact canceled for the rest of the school year?
Kind of had to think it was expected, especially the last couple of weeks. I think when we left and started working from home about a month ago, we thought maybe this goes about a month, maybe a month and a half tops. But then things started happening. Then Friday, Governor Abbott says schools are closed. So you had to think within the next 2 hours, this thing's going to be done. And when you saw so many other states are canceling sports, it was only a matter of time for us when they canceled college sports or the NBA or all these pro sports aren't going on. You thought it would probably be irresponsible. If you're not going to have pros go out there, why have kids? So Friday wasn't really a shock to me or probably a lot of other people, I would think. But I'm sure it's still tough for everybody to take, especially those seniors right now.
Yeah, I do. So when they canceled the Olympics, I already knew. Another Coleman, I'm talking to her, and when she said that, like, that put us in perspective. It's like, yeah, they canceled the Olympics, so I'm pretty sure they're going to cancel us. That's about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, she got some good point there.
Yeah, it seemed inevitable, but at the same time, I do think the UIL really did hold out hope until the last minute, possibly, that they could get this done. It wasn't until like Chris mentioned that when Governor Abbott said that school's out for the rest of the academic school year, that kind of made it a foregone conclusion. But I really do think the UIL had contingency plans in mind. If Governor Abbott would not have suspended school for the rest of the academic school year, I think they would have found a way to make this happen.
See, David, you didn't read the McKinney Gazette. I talked to Dr. Brother. He said that exact same thing. I had a 15-minute interview with him.
I would love to, I guess, if there's a way to now, just to find out what plans, like how deep those plans were and just how creative they were willing to get, just to make sure that they could finish the seasons in these respective sports. Because no doubt, I'm sure it was a pretty painstaking process for them, having to figure out just the different ways with each potential. Like, I wonder, first off, how late do you guys think they could have gone as far as playing high school sports? I don't know that off the top of my head. Is there a certain like hard fast date that they would have had to there's no turning back if they don't get anything played by that time?
He told me July and talking about like a round robin tournament for district for baseball, no baseball playoffs. They would have got rid of the pitch count, and so you could be playing an area round on Tuesday and then playing the regional quarterfinals that next Tuesday. They were going to get creative to make it work, and then for running, you would have had district like on a Tuesday, and then that Friday you running in the regional. In the area or whatever. So they had a contingency plan, which is kind of crazy.
Now, I want to wonder if it's going to go into July. You got to think too. A lot of these athletes go in D1. They're going to be starting classes, at least summer classes, late June, right? So then, how does that kind of work when you're a college student? Are you still going to get that high school eligibility when you're already enrolled, because you got to think some of these kids are already enrolled in college by the time they'd
No, that's a fair point. No, yeah, just, I mean, on my end, I just, like you guys, I kind of did feel like this was also, kind of inevitable as well. It's just, I mean, you kind of go week by week in this thing, and just, there just hadn't been any like forward momentum towards anything, not just high school sports, but, college pro. I mean, there just has been no progress, really no real tangible progress in bringing anything back. And I mean, you have to be so cautious as far as who's going to be even looking down the road, whoever is going to be that first league that does eventually get things going. And I mean, it just would have been way, way, way too soon to really take that chance and whatnot. So I mean, I get it and all that. Just but yeah, no, it felt inevitable on my end. And yeah, I mean, it does stink. I mean, you look now just as far as what, the sports that will not have a completed season, and, boys basketball, man, just imagine those teams, they were right on the doorstep there. They got to the state tournament. You go through all that, you qualify for state. And then, I mean, yeah, then you have your season go up in smoke right there, right as you're, literally like two and a couple teams or even won their semifinal. You're literally 1 to 2 wins away from a state title, and you're not going to get to realize that opportunity. Soccer was right on the doorstep of its postseason. Baseball and softball were just right about to begin their district schedules, and then golf, tennis, track. I mean, you feel so bad for the for these kids, because with what high school sports has become and how it really is like a 365-day grind, to now know that like all that has been for all for naught in a sense. It does suck for those kids. So yeah, no, it's, I mean, in a sense, like, again, it just did kind of feel inevitable, but it's you understand it. It's a necessary step. But yes, nevertheless, we are sitting here with nothing at least to look ahead to until the fall, and who knows even then. I mean, you've heard the dialogue extend now to like, how's college football going to be impacted by this? What about the NFL? So again, it's no guarantee that we're going to be all in the clear by the time August rolls around.
We'll get people off these beaches and get people off these beaches in Florida and all that, so we can have college football. Because if I can't have college football in the fall, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Like, people have been able to kind of like make do with the current circumstances as is. I can't even imagine just how stir crazy the rest of society is going to get if football's not taking place in the fall.
Hey, I was watching the 2006 Rose Bowl for the 8,000th time since it's on Longhorn Network 24/7.
Man.
But yeah, I mean, could you imagine those basketball guys, they were down in San Antonio already.
Oh, yeah.
They're ready to go. I mean, and all of a sudden, it's not just, hey, go back home, but, that's it. And I've heard from a lot of parents and a lot of coaches and a lot of players, just talking about, senior night. And I know that's something that we, sometimes it's kind of a beating. You walk into a game to cover a game, and it's like, oh, man, senior night. It's gonna delay the start of the game for 10 or 15 minutes. But then once it starts and you see the parents, you see the kids walking out with their parents and their families, and you see the recognition they get, and you realize it reminds you all over again that what a special deal that is. Well, a lot of these people, soccer got a few in, but baseball, softball, track, even tennis, golf, those kind of sports, they never even had that moment to kind of celebrate what for a lot of these kids is a almost lifetime journey for them, because they've been playing this since they could basically walk.
Mm-hmm. And there is really something to be said about, again, the importance of getting to your senior year and being able to lead your team as a senior, and how everything that you've been building towards as a high school athlete, it really is supposed to culminate there as a senior. So it just does add another layer of just what a bummer this is. I've been, again, I mentioned it in the email I sent to you guys a few days ago, but just thinking of ways, just kind of recognize these seniors and whatnot. This is such a, an unprecedented situation. It just does really, really, suck for those kids, most of all. I mean, I'm sure if you guys have been on social media, obviously you've seen just the outpouring of support and the emotional posts and the goodbyes and whatnot that teams and players and coaches have shared. And I mean, it really is like one of the more emotional, stretches just that we've seen just in our time covering all this. Kind of transitioning to that though, I mean, this really has been such a unique story to cover, just in all of the different angles that we've that we've had to take over the last month and whatnot. Because obviously, again, even though there are no high school sports going on, the newspaper does not sleep, journalism does not sleep, so we've still been having to get out content, just like normal. So what has it been like on y'all's end, just reporting on this story, and what are the things that you've kind of learned about this, and how just the schools and the teams that you cover have kind of acclimated to a very, very different way of doing business?
Honestly, I don't think when I graduated college or was getting a degree a year and a half ago thinking that I would ever cover something like this, but here we are. You just got to be a lot more creative too. You got to think of other ways to tell stories, because obviously there's coronavirus going on, but there's only so much you can bring out. Is the season going to come back, this and that? So you got to figure out ways to highlight these kids, especially these seniors, because a lot of these kids, their careers are done if you think about it, because there's such a small percentage that go to college.
Yeah, for sure.
That percentage. So a lot of these kids, their sports careers are done, and they never would have known that the last time they stepped on that field. So it's a different time. So you just got to be creative with the stories, and you got talk to the coaches as much as you can, because I think honestly, when I've talked to coaches, they almost seem sad when the phone call's over because it gave them something to do for 30 minutes.
And then McKinney, they had like some historic stuff. As you know about London, she was trying to go. You can't tell what she was trying to do, but she's further, I won't say like onto Arkansas, but it's kind of like how many more medals I can get. But I think it's something as she gets older, it'd be like, could I've gotten those two more medals? Because you can only tell what she would have done with the state titles. You can't top it.
Now, what about Coleman? I mean, what about Jada Coleman?
Yeah, exactly.
Jada's like Jada. Actually, I talked to Jada and her mom out here in McKinney. I mean, the Colony. Jada, I think Jada was more about, okay, it's a high school thing and it'd be cool, but not to say on Oklahoma. Her mom wanted her to have it, but it's like, I know I would have got it if I would have had the game. So I'm cool with that, basically. I think that was her mentality. That's why I said boiled away. But it's still kind of crazy when you see the record and you know you can get it, but you didn't get the opportunity.
No, I think I had one senior I talked to at Coppell girls soccer, Haley Roberson, last year of high school. But she had probably the best attitude and perspective I've ever seen on this situation. Honestly, it made me think like it could be a lot worse, because a senior like her, obviously she's going to play college soccer at North Texas. Hopefully we have soccer in the fall so she can start her career there. But she was just saying it's tough, but it's made her appreciate the small things in life, like being with her family more, being at home, being able to spend that time that she maybe involved with other stuff. So it's tough, but I'm seeing more and more athletes have that perspective like Haley did, where you think it's tough, but at least we have what we have, because a lot of people right now don't have their health. They've lost family members, but Haley was just thinking like it could be a lot worse for me, even if it's already tough. It's just a small bit on the radar.
Yeah, I'm really interested to talk to the coaches this week, because in the previous weeks, it was open. They were still optimistic. They still thought they had to have that mindset that, hey, we're going to have to go back to work. We're going to have to get these kids ready for the playoffs, et cetera. Now that the announcement was made, and now that they've kind of had a weekend to kind of sit back and get some perspective, I think I'm sure, in fact, that they'll take the positives out of, promoting the kids and talking about the kids and stuff like that. But I'm really interested this week when I reconnect with some of these coaches, now that it is all said and done, just kind of how they take away from this, and just because I'm sure there's mixed feelings, when it's all said and done.
One thing, is one of the stories that I did, a few weeks ago and all that. It was initially supposed to just start off as a story just on how, kids are staying active and like strength and conditioning and whatnot. But it's one of those where you do a couple interviews with it, and then afterwards you realize like, okay, actually there might be a different angle to take that might actually be a bit more relevant to the current situation. And it's a unique time because it's giving a lot of these athletes a chance to really kind of basically just learn things about themselves that you otherwise didn't know, just because everything that they're experiencing right now is just, it's so completely against the grain from whatever they've experienced. I mean, you basically had to adapt to a brand new routine, a brand new sense of structure. And, as far as just kind of the physical and mental growth that something like that can breed, it really is interesting to see how kids are kind of, adapting to that, because, this is a situation where it does, kind of force them to really kind of establish some personal accountability throughout all this. Because I mean, ultimately, like, a lot of these kids are being asked to, to stay active and whatnot and all that, but ultimately the onus is on the kids themselves to follow through on that. And people are going to handle this situation different, from from person to person and all that, just because you don't have the structure and routine of attending a practice, having a coach there in front of you, having your teammates next to you and whatnot to push you on. So it's a chance to really kind of, again, just to develop some personal accountability and just to kind of develop some leadership qualities in other ways and whatnot. Plus, we just, you look at one of the prominent storylines from basketball season and just the rash of injuries, which something we thought we attributed to, perhaps these kids maybe being overworked a bit with as exhausting as the high school sports and the club sports schedule can be. So, kind of a low-key benefit of this is a chance for these kids to finally get a chance to just kind of recover a bit and just get a break from that grind. So, just again, trying to take a kind of a glass half full approach to this, but I don't know, just those are just some things kind of beyond the pale that just kind of stuck out. And just, you look at just the impact that like the social media has had on, as far as kind of easing the blow of a time like this with kind of what we're doing right now, how Zoom conferences man, can you think of a bigger winner over the last like month or so than Zoom, which has now become like the de facto way of doing business and conference calls and whatnot?
If I could have gone back 6 weeks, I would have put every penny I had in either Zoom and Netflix, and I would be able to retire right now. So.
Did any of us know that Zoom existed a month and a half ago? Because I really didn't know what Zoom was.
I didn't know.
I heard about it.
Obviously.
I was just, as far as video conferencing goes, like I had always just like Skype was always the one that I had heard of and whatnot. Yeah. But no, I mean, I had, and that was one thing that, again, you started seeing more and more high school programs in, integrating Zoom into their, like, doing workouts, or they've got the entire team, like with the, the Zoom screen on their laptop, and they're just working out in their bedroom or whatever, and or just doing team meetings with coaches. And you wonder if, like, if some of the, I guess the technology that people have kind of gotten used to over these last few weeks, if maybe it might be, if maybe any of the stuff will kind of stick and kind of carry over when we get back to normal, and maybe you see means like this becoming a bit more frequent just in everyday use now that people have realized, like, okay, this actually is like, it's really not that bad. We kind of can still do business as normal on something like this, even though we're not, physically, in the same office or whatever.
I know for football, the boy football team is, I think a lot of the teams are doing their meetings that they have in those meeting rooms for football. Their spring ball, since they can't do anything, they're having that in their little allotted time. They're having Zoom meetings to assignments and get stuff ready for the next year.
And then like also, I think like Google Classroom and using Zoom meetings and all that for accountability. So I'm sure a lot of schools like Kendrick has talked about, like doing that kind of similar stuff. Do we still have that accountability? Like I know that Matt mentioned as well a minute ago.
And that's what I have to add in. I'm pretty sure in your markets there's a couple because you got, especially in Allen and Plano, how this is affecting history for some of these programs. Like Boyd, they have the best baseball team they've had, maybe the best baseball team in MISD history. They were ranked number 3, 10-1, coming off a regional tournament appearance. I mean, a state tournament appearance, and 95% of the team comes back. And like I said, they were 10-1 this year. We'll never know what could have been. McKinney North was almost the same way. They had a great senior class, had 8 or 9 seniors. They've been groomed to say, well, that's not me. they've been groomed to be in this position since they were freshmen. They were defending district champs, went to the regionals, and we don't get to see that story play out.
Man, that was one thing that on last week when TASCO, the Texas Association of Soccer Coaches, when they put out their post-district regional rankings and getting a look at all the teams in the Metroplex that were either like ranked atop their region or whatnot. But that's one that like, because already like soccer already gets kind of the short end of the stick from us just because of where it falls in the sports schedule and how there's so much overlap with that in the most meaningful parts of our basketball coverage. So like on my end, with me having to, take on some stuff for Flyer Mound, Louisville, and Carrollton, like when like I only really got to cover soccer as far as live coverage goes for really like a week. because that's when basketball ended for me. So like I didn't get to see Plano ISD or Allen play soccer this year. Like that's how like God, that's such a such a bummer for me. But I'm just looking at teams like like the Flower Mountain girls who were number one in the state, number one in the nation. They were undefeated. And I mean, looking to close off a perfect regular season, they were one match away from doing that. And I mean, who knows what happens in the playoffs? But just getting to see like teams like them, the Wakeland boys, who are gunning for a fifth consecutive state tournament appearance. The Marcus boys, the Allen boys and girls, Prosper boys and girls. I mean, all these teams that seem poised to make some noise in the postseason. And now, I mean, it's just a footnote, it's just a question of what could have been, so it does suck in that respect. All these teams that really were kind of gearing up to potentially go on a historic run, but now won't get the chance to do so. And then, and then there's the aspect of, football, with all the talk of sports that have had their seasons canceled. I mean, again, we won't know until the fall to what extent this will have an impact on it. But I mean, football has just been thrown completely off the train tracks as well, with nobody getting in their spring workouts. And now you get word over the weekend 7-on-7s, canceled and all that. And again, like some programs place a different priority on that than others. But still, I mean, it's just we're in a stage right now where if you're a team that, if you're like a Plano that just hired your head coach just a few weeks ago, I mean,
not gonna work out for you next year. Not gonna work.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, who knows how long it's going to take before Todd Ford, who was the the new Plano head coach, former Lovejoy head coach, before like those kids are even up to speed with with his with the schemes and systems and whatnot. It's just such a or if your team's breaking in a new starting quarterback like Allen, I mean, just how long before everything is back to normal again? You have no idea how much it's going to set back these teams.
Or possibly you get a cut of your rosters gone because of the new school opening.
Oh yeah, and if you're a first-year program like Rock Hill, who knows what what Coach Humble's plan was as far as how he was going to go about bringing along those kids, given given their situation and whatnot, as they get ready for their first year of our. Let's see. I don't know what is what is the impact from a football perspective had on your markets from what you guys can tell?
I mean, you look at it. The Colony lost a ridiculous senior class. They lost. You lose guys like Christian Gonzalez,
right.
Keith Miller, Miles Price. Coach Rangel actually told me on the phone 2 weeks ago that Miles Price is a guy you can expect to be a Heisman guy in 3 years of Texas Tech.
That'd be awesome, man. He's an incredible player.
I mean, I watched his highlights. He's got some Tavon Austin in him. I'm going to be honest with you. He's got some of that. And they love that young talent. They love their freshman and sophomore class coming up. But right now they can't work with them in person. They can't get the pads. They can't do anything like that. So it's just a matter of how much do you actually know about these kids? Obviously, you know the promise, know the potential, but you can't work with them in person. You're just hoping that they're working out at home, being accountable, at least from Coach Rangel's viewpoint. He said every time he drives around town, he's seen most of his players still run and getting in work, so at least there's that, but we still just don't know, especially when you're breaking in these new starters. Plano, like you said, is bringing in a new coach. We don't really know what these things are going to bring come the fall if we do have football.
One thing I can guarantee is we're going to have some teams come out the blue. Next year, we're going to have some powerhouses in some playoff streaks next year. That's inevitable. Somebody that's been on a long playoff streak will have a rough patch next year if they do play. And somebody that does not make noise is going to come out the blue and go on a magical run because they got a senior class or some factors that built them to go through this. But then next year, what we know, teams that you think are not as good are going to be, some of them are going to be better. And some teams that are traditionally powerhouses are going to take some lumps next year. That's inevitable. Just matter who's going to be those teams.
Yeah, and there's been some speculation. I mean, I've seen these theories where college football gets moved to the spring and whatnot. I think that the UIL is going to try to stick with the normal. I mean, as it is, high school football season runs up until the week before Christmas. That's when the state championship games are basically played. And I think there's just unless it's just I can't envision high school football not getting started. Now, they may have to limit something in terms of attendance and whatnot. But, and this is before y'all's time in terms of being a reporter, as I'm dating myself, as I tend to do sometimes. But, when 9/11 happened, the first thing that returned was high school football in Texas. That was, 9/11 was a Tuesday. They played on a Thursday. And obviously a totally different situation, but they try to get back to normal, whereas college and pro sports still were, took a couple more weeks to get going. And so I think that the UIL is going to try to pick up the next school year as is and try to keep things as normal as possible, because once you keep pushing things back, it's going to affect all sports. Because how many guys do we know that play football and basketball and multiple sports?
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
you can't compress all multiple sports into, say, the start of next year and try to put them all into 5 months.
Yeah, because it is crazy when you think of how far away high school football season is from starting, and how we're only 5 weeks into this. It feels like it's been an eternity since since we last saw each other. Again, so much can change, but yeah, so as of right now, who knows? Again, yeah, hopefully things are all for the better by then. I can't imagine how we're all going to be holding up if we get to August and it's still literally like this, where I'm laying in bed recording a podcast with you guys. And I was also thinking, just again from kind of a work standpoint, we'll still have all area teams, because again now what do we do for those? I think soccer, we have enough to where we can go ahead and do soccer as we would otherwise. Again, obviously you won't have any postseason numbers to account for, but we at least have enough of a sample size where we can go forward with boys and girls all area soccer teams and take care of those as we would any other year. Baseball and softball, though, I'm open to discussion because, again, of how limited the sample size is, and how, so many just teams, so many players are going to have common numbers and whatnot. So it's something we can discuss down the road, but I was thinking of that last night, crap, what do we do for all area teams and whatnot? So there was that. And then, the last thing that I wanted to get from you guys before we head out is just simply how have you guys been, man? How have y'all been handling the downtime? Again, I haven't seen you guys in 5 weeks and whatnot. We've talked via text and emails and whatnot, but yes, obviously things have changed for us because, well, there's one person not here who has been a staple of the podcast and of our coverage for several years now. For those that didn't see on social media, Brian's gone. Brian Murphy, our longtime Frisco Little Salina reporter, he has moved on to the sales world. Yeah, he just started his new gig last week and whatnot. Very much wish him the best of luck and thank him for the awesome work that he did for us over the years. But so yes, having to definitely adopt some different approaches on the work front, with us having to pick up a little bit now in those markets. But otherwise, I just wanted to see how you guys have been doing, man. How have you guys been handling this this bizarre time that we're living in right now?
It's bizarre. I think the first week I was just like, what the heck do I really do? This is so odd. I was like, there's no sports. I'm depressed. I'm sad. Then it just kind of sunk in this. It could be a lot worse. But then I've probably in my free time played way too much NBA 2K. NCAA football is getting ridiculous. I bought Madden the other day on PlayStation Store for $23.
Nice.
And I just saw, actually, it's kind of crazy because SportsCenter, you saw they did that tweet with California, Texas, Georgia, Florida, which high school state's the best for football. So I created all of those teams, doing a little tournament there just to pass the time, because at 6 o'clock on a Saturday, what else can I really do now besides Madden, right?
I saw you were.
It's not a debate, Chris. It's not a debate.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. That Florida team is ridiculous. The guys I have on there, that receiver room, they have the Bosa brothers. It's
comparable, but that's about it.
One of the games I played yesterday, Mahomes got sacked 6 times from the Bosa brothers, so it wasn't going well.
Yeah, I've been getting in some burn on NBA 2K for sure. With you, Chris, I saw you were doing a thing on social media where you were watching a new classic game each day.
Yeah, then it got too hard to keep watching classic games. So I can't do this anymore. I tried that for a week and a half, and I was like, this hurts too much.
What was the best game you saw?
Let me go through my Twitter right now and see that thread, because I know I had a few on there that were good. That Stanford USC game, Lux last year at Stanford's really underrated. They probably should have lost that game. That's because they won, and that's the reason why Stanford got into, obviously, a BCS bowl game. Boise, probably that Boise State Statue of Liberty game to beat Oklahoma was probably the best one I had in there, I think. Because obviously there's just so much.
How are you going to bring that to the air, Chris?
You're going to have Statue of Liberty. Then right before that last drive, they threw a pick 6 with a minute.
You like that, Matt?
Oh yeah, I love it. Great, great game, incredible game. No, I wasn't even mad after that game. I was just more just in awe of just again how incredible it was. How could you be mad? It's yeah.
Right.
I'm an OU guy, in case you didn't know, Chris. Sorry, that game it hits a little deeper for me.
I know you're an OU guy. I wish West Virginia could beat them sometime in football. It's been like 20 years, so.
Kendrick, how about you, man? How's life treating you these days?
Just work. I work just as much as I did before. I haven't even touched my PlayStation. I'd be gone on the hustle.
And I saw you.
I just have to localize it. No planes.
At 10 o'clock, you got to go start teaching the kiddo.
Yeah, that's a whole day. Props
what's
to
that
the
been
teachers
like?
out there. Props to the teachers.
You get a whole new respect for teachers in the wake of all this.
Yeah, you gotta be patient. You gotta repeat yourself 20 times.
Yeah. Google, I didn't know what Google Classroom was a month ago, and now I'm very well versed in what Google Classroom is, because that's basically how these teachers are going about, teaching these kids.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I haven't shaved since we've been gone. You see all that gray starting to come in down there, and I don't know. I don't know if I have any intentions of doing so. Maybe see how long this can last, and get a nice little quarantine beard going.
I'm going for that Mike Gundy mullet here in another 2 months.
I'm getting close to the mullet thing. I just need a haircut because shoot, I'm look like Joe Dirt here in another week.
You know what I still have to watch is Tiger King. Like, I hear that's a wild.
Oh man, you haven't seen Tiger King yet?
I actually watched it. The crazy thing is, I almost got put on a reality show to produce some of that stuff. I almost got to see some of that stuff live. I was like, man, I dodged the bullet on that one.
No, I do have to say,
man, the art of the story is instead I produced Dancing with the Stars with Jacoby Jones and Karina Smirnoff and a couple of American Idol episodes when they do the audition part. So it worked out for your boy. I dodged Joe Exotic.
Now I gotta send out a thank you to Joey Molinaro for all of these little impersonations for getting through this time, and for Max is Nice for these NBA impersonations, because they're way too good. I think that LeBron Pat Beverly one a day or two ago, where LeBron's falling on the ground because of Pat Beverly, and Beverly's just going like this. What did I do? I didn't touch them.
Yeah, you need to get on Tiger King. It's trash TV at the highest form, but I mean, you can't turn away, man. The way that they just kind of escalated to the point where it's like you kind of lose sight of the fact that these are actual people and they're not just like cartoon characters or whatever. I mean, it's that surreal, some of the details of these people's lives.
They're all felons, man. They're all felons.
It's some terrible people, man. But it is highly entertaining television. So yes, if you get around to it, man, definitely worth the look. Let's see. I don't know. Otherwise, guys, like, I mean, have you guys, like, how much time have you guys been spending indoors and whatnot? Have you guys been adhering to the the social distancing protocols? Have you guys gotten any time to go out and whatnot, or just what's the day-to-day been like?
Probably just usually most of my workouts are at home. Thank God for my trainer for still sending me stuff. Nice. Shout out to Valerie Little's husband for being my trainer and sending me stuff.
Prosper Athletic Director Valerie Little.
Right. But usually I'll sit on the balcony for a while in the afternoon once I'm done with work and read out there. Like, I think I just finished Bill Walton's book, which is an absolute trip.
Okay.
It's totally worth it. I'm reading Andre Iguodala's book now, which is really good. I just got that Victory Machine by Ethan Strauss, and obviously we've seen all the.
Dude, yes, I've been wanting to read that too. When I read they posted an excerpt of one of the sections about Kevin Durant, and just reading into how, like, oh boy, what a crotchety terse thing that was.
I mean, thanks for KD for winning all those titles, but I don't think he had to be too upset during those times, because it got a little ridiculous. Because we all remember that one time, it was probably last March, where he goes off on Ethan Strauss, who are you?
Yeah.
And all that. And I'm just like, this isn't going to end well.
It's crazy for a guy, like, because you think of what led him to Golden State in the first place, and I mean, who again, it's just one of those, like, because even after all of it, like, you didn't find any extra happiness. Yeah. There was no sense of completion and whatnot. And again, who knows ultimately what he is, searching for with his career. But yeah, I mean, clearly he just couldn't find it in Golden State, and it ends in pretty bitter fashion.
Yeah, like I almost feel for the guy because he's trying, but he just can't find that happiness. Like I don't know how he's gonna find it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like there was some really tense exchange with him and the Bay Area media guys.
It made for some good stories, though.
Yeah, no doubt. On my end, I mean, I've gotten out to find like a basketball court here and there, a deserted one, making sure there's nobody around and whatnot. And I mean, I can only stay inside for so long. I had to just get out and do some shooting around and get some sort of like, mobile exercise and whatnot. And I've still been, working out at home when I can and all that, and doing things like, me and my girlfriend just completed a puzzle over the weekend and all that. So just try to find ways. I mean, it's, again, you have to get a little bit creative since obviously we're not used to spending this much time indoors and whatnot. But,
I mean, how's grocery shopping been for you guys too? Because I went there Friday and that was like the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah, yesterday was the first time that I went to Walmart and had to, throw on the mask and whatnot. And here, since it's now, I guess you're required to, to do so for the time being. It's a little bit of a hassle since, you go there and, about half the shelves are empty and whatnot. So you just kind of got to pick and choose and just hope that you get lucky, that you find the stuff that you need. But yeah, otherwise it's, it's mostly been pretty between, there's an Aldi, Walmart, and a Target within, a reasonable distance from me. So between one of the three, usually has what I'm looking for. Alrighty. Well, that's it, guys. That's all I got. So, yeah, guys. Hey, I appreciate y'all for tagging along for this, and yeah, I mean, we'll see where the podcast goes from here. I'll let you guys know as far as plans go what I've got in mind down the road. But yeah, guys. Until next time. Yeah, this has been another episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast. A very informal, very bizarre episode, but yeah, you know what? We wanted to get out there and at least address the masses as well. So, yes, you guys enjoy your time indoors and stay safe, everybody. All right, talk to y'all later.